Welcome to Mishna Sanhedrin Perek Bet Mishnah Bet. Over here in the next few Mishnah, we're going to speak about the laws of the king, and we'll start with this Mishnah. A king, he doesn't judge, and we can't judge him. We're not allowed to judge the king. We can't bring him to court. Rambam points out over here, this is speaking out specifically to Malchei Israel, right? Not Malchei Yehuda, just Malchei Israel, because Malchutam Shlo Kadin, right? Their kingship, right, is lo kadin, right? They should be really part of one nation, and they don't appreciate the shiflat ruach and the anava, right? Just being humble and in soblim ta'emet. They can't even accept the truth. But when it comes to Malchei Bet David, danin v'danin otam, because they could accept the truth, right? Interesting enough, and that's how Rambam is posek also. He brings down the pasuk over here by Yirmiyahu, where it says, "Bet David Amar Adonai dinu laboker mishpat," and David Shalom was part of the Sanhedrin Gdola, right? So over here we see that David judged. David was part of the Sanhedrin, right? So he could judge, and you're allowed to judge them. That's great. Again, that's Malchei Yehuda. But when it comes to Malchei Israel, you're not allowed to. The Gemara actually brings down a case of Yanai HaMelech, right, where he sat in a court case for his eved that killed someone, and the people around him in the court couldn't actually speak up truthfully because they were so scared of him. And there was an incident where some of the people there died, and because of that, we don't allow Malchei Israel, Malchei Israel, lo dan and lo daninota. Lo me'id v'lo me'idinoto, right? He can't testify. We can't testify against him. Lo choletz. Et ishto, right? You can't do halitza, right, to the king's wife. Sorry, he can't do halitza, right, to his brother's wife that fell to him to either do yibum or halitza, and none of the king's brothers could do halitza to his wife. Lo me'abem, he can't do yibum. V'lo me'abemim et ishto, right? None of his brothers could do yibum and marry his wife if he died. Again, all this is not appropriate for a king, and a king can't even forego his kavod, right? A king melech shemachala kavodo en kavodo machul, right? He can't forego his own kavod. Rabbi Yehuda Omer im ratzah lachlotz only abem zachul atov, right? Rabbi Yehuda actually argues on this point I just said. That's Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda says if he wants to do halitza or he can do yibum, zachul atov, good for him. Amru lo v'im ratzah. And shomim lo. You say no. If he wants to, he's not allowed to, because as we said, if a king wants to forgo his honor, he's not allowed to. We're not allowed to. No one's allowed to marry his widow. A king, the next king, is allowed to marry the widow of that king. Because we saw David married the almanah of Shaul Shneimar, Ve'etene lecha et bet adonecha, ve'nesheh adonecha, bechaikecha, right, by David HaMelech. So we learn from there. Halacha, Rambam over here says, is like Rabbi Yehuda, that you're allowed to marry the almanah of a melech, but chalitza and yibum, we don't listen to him, right? Because over there, it's a bizayon, right? Because he has to spit. Right, it's just not because he can't. It's just not nice. It's inappropriate. So he's not allowed to do chalitza. Because he can do chalitza, he's not allowed to do yibum either. As we mentioned, a king that forgoes his kivodo in kivodo mahul. And I would point out over here, though, that when it comes to the halacha and Mishneh Torah, it seems like Rambam retracted for what he said that halacha is like a Yehuda in that regard, that the king is allowed to marry another king's widow, right? It seems like the Mishneh Torah that he retracted from that, and he's posek like Tanakama that you're not allowed.